Ever just like fall into these YouTube rabbit holes? You know, the ones you just had to tell somebody about.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, get ready, because that's kind of how we ended up on today's deep dive.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're talking clandestine broadcasts,
Yeah.
music born from rebellion, and twists you wouldn't believe.
Sounds juicy.
UK Pirate Radio. That's our jam today.
I am so there. Love it.
And our guide through this world, a former pirate radio heavyweight we're calling Uncle K. This guy lived and breathed this scene, especially during a time when UK music was finding its footing. We're going deep on a recent YouTube interview he did with the Central Club. Seriously, this is one deep dive you won't want to miss.
See, this is why I love these deep dives. You never know what you're going to get, but it's always fascinating.
100%. Okay, so before we get into Uncle K's wild ride, let's set the scene a bit. What exactly are we talking about when we say pirate radio in the UK?
Okay, so imagine a time before the internet, before everyone's sharing everything online, even before most people could just flip on cable TV. We're talking late 20th century here, and in the UK, radio was, well, controlled. Government had a tight grip. But then these renegade stations started popping up, pirate radio. No licenses, often broadcasting from who knows where.
So rebellious.
Totally. But it wasn't just about breaking the rules. Pirate radio gave a voice to communities that mainstream media ignored. Suddenly, you could hear reggae, jungle, and later grime music bubbling up from the streets that nobody else was playing.
So it was this whole underground movement shaping music culture.
Exactly. And that brings us to Uncle K.
All right, hit me with it.
This guy learned from a legend, Badger B. Many consider him the godfather of London pirate radio.
Wow, talk about an education.
Right.
I did hear Uncle K's first night on the air was a little eventful.
Oh, yeah. You mean?
He got robbed.
No way. Seriously.
His very first night broadcasting.
That's wild. You know, it really just shows you how crazy things were back then. High stakes.
You think that would scared him off, but
It kind of had the opposite effect, right?
total badge of honor. He even made this no equipment buying rule. After that, from then on, he only took equipment from other stations.
Yeah, we got to acknowledge that while these stories are entertaining, it was a different time. Often dangerous, always illegal, and there were consequences.
For sure, for sure.
But it does show how resourceful those early pirate radio folks had to be. Shoestring budgets, constantly battling authorities, rival stations, you name it.
So scrappy, determined, kind of like the music itself.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we got to talk about grime.
Oh, absolutely.
For anyone who doesn't know, grime is raw energy.
Mm-hmm.
Born on the streets of London, it pulls from garage, dancehall, hip-hop.
All about the lyrical skill, that fast pace, that energy.
So much energy. And Uncle K was right there as it exploded.
He was one of the first to realize it wasn't about charging DJs for airtime anymore. It was about the grime MCs.
The MCs, for anyone listening who's new to the scene, that's your rappers, your lyricists.
Spitting fire on the mic.
Exactly. So Uncle K starts cramming as many MCs on a show as he can. He just knew that raw talent, those lyrical battles, that was the future.
It was like he predicted how we listen to music now. It's not enough to just have the DJ. We want those raw voices.
He was ahead of the game.
Big time.
But let's be clear. This wasn't some fancy recording studio.
Oh, no. Not even close.
Uncle K talks about constant police raids, stations trying to sabotage each other, even getting attacked.
It was wild. Absolutely wild.
That's something out of a movie.
And it makes you think about how these cultural movements start. It's not always pretty, but it's always interesting.
And that's just the beginning of Uncle K's story. So we've got Uncle K, this total outlaw, right, living this crazy life, and it leads us to this documentary, Tower Block Dreams.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of this.
This is back in the early 2000s, yeah. And they feature a young Uncle K back in his pirate radio heyday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward a few years, and this show, People Just Do Nothing, blows up. Huge hit.
Love that show.
So good. But for people who haven't seen it, it's this mockumentary comedy about this group of friends, right? And they run this fictional pirate radio station, Corrupt FM.
Right.
And let's just say, they might have borrowed a little heavily from Uncle K's life and that Tower Block Dreams documentary.
Oh, you're saying they ripped him off?
Well, when you watch them side by side, it's hard to deny the similarities.
Like, how similar are we talking?
Scenes, characters, whole storylines. It's like they lifted stuff straight from the documentary.
Wow. And how does Uncle K feel about all this?
He's not thrilled. In the interview, he talks about feeling ripped off, frustrated.
Yeah.
Like someone turned his life into a joke, without asking.
Yeah, I can see why he'd be upset. But legally speaking, I mean, can he even do anything?
That's where it gets complicated. So, remember how we said this documentary was made back in the day? Apparently, Uncle K never signed any release forms.
Wait, so they never got his permission?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to add another layer to this whole thing, the BBC was involved in that original documentary.
Really?
Yeah, which throws a wrench into everything because who owns those rights? To his life, to these experiences, it gets murky.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Where's the line between inspiration, drawing from something, and just straight-up copying?
Exactly. And it brings up even bigger questions about art and inspiration. Does satire, comedy, does that get a free pass? Can you just take from real life without acknowledging it?
Tough one.
Really tough.
And you can tell it eats at Uncle K. Like, they use real names from his life, MC Decoy, for example.
Wait, like the MC Decoy?
Yeah, the drum and bass MC, that's a real person trying to build a career.
Yeah.
Now he's got this fictional version of himself running around on this hit show,
That's gotta be strange.
to say the least. And then it gets even more ironic when you realize what Uncle K is doing now.
Yeah.
Because now, Uncle K is on YouTube.
Get out.
I'm serious, he's got his own channel.
No way. So he's using the platform that made this show a hit to talk about how much he hates it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, right? Is there anyone more qualified to be talking about the ethics of content creation online than Uncle K? He was living this stuff before algorithms even existed.
It's true. He went from literally broadcasting in secret to this whole YouTube world.
From pirate radio to the digital age, it's kind of poetic.
It really is. And, for all the stuff he says about people just do nothing, it's clear he gets it. He sees the irony.
Oh, totally. But his channel is more than just him ranting about the show,
Oh, yeah. What else is he up to these days?
Everything. Weed reviews, talking about mental health, social commentary.
Wow. Okay, so he's keeping it interesting.
He definitely keeps things interesting. You get the sense, though, that he's still figuring things out, like how to move forward from all this.
Yeah. Makes you think about how we all carry our pasts with us, no matter how crazy they might be.
It's true. And Uncle K's story, as wild as it is, it kind of mirrors how media itself has changed.
Yeah.
Like you have this outlaw underground thing, then it gets documented, then parts of it end up as entertainment, and now it's all playing out online.
And we all get to watch it happen. But where do you draw the line, right? Inspiration, appropriation, who even owns a story anymore?
Especially in this age of, like, instant content, remixes, memes.
It's a good question. And not one with any easy answers.
Nope. But I think just asking the question, that's a start. And Uncle K, for all his rough edges and that whole pirate radio past, he makes you think about these things.
Absolutely. He reminds us there are real stories, real people behind all those videos we click on.
Behind the memes, the trends, the whole digital circus. So, next time you're deep in a YouTube hole, remember Uncle K?
Remember Uncle K?
It might make you look at the internet and maybe even your own life a little differently.